All right, so in today's video, we have two pair of Slate Mule Skinner Iron Rangers, model 8087. One pair completely brand new right out of the box. These are Tony's. He's going to put his own twist on them. And I got one pair that have been worn for about 4 months. And I'm going to do a completely different build on them. Same video, stick along.
Hey everybody, I'm pretty excited about this build because glossy cut soles have been a very highly requested item, and we've not been able to get them before in the United States. They were only available in Europe, so we had a lot of customers who were having to order online and get those soles and send them to us to have us put them on. And it's a great sole. I've got nothing but great feedback about them throughout the past couple of years. And we finally were able to convince Vibram to sell them to one of our suppliers and ship them over to the United States. So we're introducing them back to the US market. So you'll have those available to be able to get them now. And so I'm going to take this pair of mule skinners and I'm going to convert them to the glossy cut sole. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to do black or whether I'm going to do white. Unfortunately, I used the pair that was the right size for the boots on a customer's shoes in black, so I don't know if this one is going to fit or not. So I'm going to make sure, and then that'll be my determining factor whether I go black or white. And so one of the things that I want to do is I want to weigh these and see what they weigh now. They're 3 pounds 6.2 ounces, and I want to see how much weight we take off of them by going with this lightweight glossy cut sole and the type of build I'm doing on it.
Okay, so for this build, I'm going to be using the Dr. Sole soles. This is one of our best selling soles. These were also really difficult to get in for a long time. It's a company out of Taiwan. And this is one of my absolute favorites. This is the raw hemp cord sole. We're going to do a full sole. It has this really cool hemp cording on the side of it. I think that'll look really good against this slate. We're going to just re-welt it with a light antique flat welt, add a midsole and a heel base, make these things look awesome. Okay, so before I take this sole off, I do want to talk a little bit about welts. As Tony mentioned earlier, I am going to be replacing this welt just to change the color, but in addition to that, one of the biggest reasons why people get new welts on their boot is just for the aesthetic, that pretty stitch, that perfect stitching around. The Goodyear Welt is designed to take the abuse of being resoled and being reused over and over again so that the upper of the boot doesn't take the stress of being restitched. So do you need new welts when you get a new sole on your boot? Not necessarily. But if you do want that pretty stitching around there, we recommend new welts. The reason being is because when you reuse this welt, a lot of times the machine will either skip a stitch or miss a stitch. The stitching can be a little bit wonky. We're really dependent on how the factory sanded that finish and how even that stitching is up against that edge. So with a new welt, you get rid of all of that and it looks really pretty and it gives you that new boot look that you want from a full Recraft like this.
One of the things I see in a lot of other videos is where people cut the soles off with the knife and then they hand pick the stitches. Even on Red Wings they do that. If you sand the bottom, Red Wing uses a nylon thread, so if you sand the bottom of the stitches, you can pull all the stitches out in a really quick time period versus having to hand pick each and every one of those individual stitches.
So if you notice here, these boots have only been worn for about 4 months, but once I remove that cork, you can see that this gemming is actually loose from the footbed already. And the biggest problem with that is once you wear through those stitches on that sole, then you put outward pressure on that boot and you may end up losing shape and your sole flopping and pulling loose. So that's just one of the small downsides of a Goodyear Welt system because you're dependent on that gemming glue between the insole and the gemming.
Now, you may be wondering why I'm taking the welts off of these, because they're Goodyear welted and Goodyear welts can be reused. I'm going with a completely different look on this boot, so I'd like you to get a good visual of the upper of the boot and the color of the welt and the way the stitches look on it currently, because I'm going to completely change all that.
One of the reasons why we use the word antique in our finishes is because
ties real well, tied in a knot, and then I do a double loop through. Leave just a little bit of a whip so your cement can catch it. Steel shanks from these, and I'm not going to put them back in. I'm just going to put cork in, because the Red Wing mock toes are made with a wedge sole and they don't use steel shanks in them. Okay, so I get a lot of questions about midsoles. How thick are they? Why should you use a midsole? What are the benefits of this midsole versus this midsole, and that midsole? Some people want to order a thick or even a double midsole when they really would not have enough weight to be able to flex it. So I end up talking on the phone with people about midsoles. So I thought I'd cover this. So this is a rubber midsole. This midsole is 3 millimeters thick, and this is our standard leather midsole, which you can see that they're very close. It's just a little bit thicker, so this is probably closer to like 4 millimeters thick. And then we have our thick midsole, which as you can see is really close to 6 millimeters, maybe 8, somewhere right in that area. And the difference in them is depending on what kind of wear you're going to be using them for. If you're going to be on real rugged terrain, you can break the rules of weight that I use to give people a scale to go by. But if you're wearing them for casual wear and semi work, or like work where you're just standing and not really flexing on uneven terrain a lot, you basically want to go with your midsoles by weight. If you weigh 185 pounds or less, you want to stick with our regular midsole if you want to go with leather. If you weigh between 185 and 225, you can go with the thick midsole. Sorry, I grabbed the wrong one. You can go with the thick leather midsole because that gives you extra support and extra stability in your boot. It makes a huge difference at the end of the day when you're standing on your feet a lot. And then if you're 225 and above, the double midsole is the way to go for that extra weight, support and things like that. Now what's funny is that two regular midsoles are really close to the same thickness as the thick midsole, but they give you a lot more support, because with the midsoles, what you've got is this piece of leather has fibers that are all running one way, and this one has fibers that are not matching this one. So these are all running one way, so it'll flex and bend in and break into your foot a lot easier, whereas these are going to give you a lot more resistance. I did a double midsole. As a matter of fact, I've got those boots on today. And I did a double midsole in our last dual off video on my boots. I weigh 195 to 200 is where I bounce around most of the time, and they were like a brick to me. I mean, I could not flex them. I had to go hiking in them and really put them on some rugged terrain to be able to get them broken in after 4 months of trying in just normal wear and tear. So you don't want to over midsole, and you don't want to under midsole. So you want to kind of base it on that. Again, like I said, uneven terrain breaks those barriers and stuff like that. Now the purpose of a rubber midsole is it gives a much stronger bond for people who are in a lot of mud or water or anything like that. You want to have your soles that are glued on, you want to have them bonded to the rubber, because the water can't soak into the leather, because it's rubber, and they're not going to soak in and get in there and come at your glue from the backside. So if you're in those rough kind of conditions, you want to definitely have a rubber midsole bonded to your rubber sole. So I hope that helps explain how you want to pick your midsoles.
It's gonna be tight.
So I'm doing something a little different on this pair. As I mentioned earlier about choosing the thickness of midsole you want and everything. On this pair, the reason that I'm doing the Gloxy cut, it's a very flexible sole and things like that. So I'm trying to keep that flexibility, but I don't want to lose my support. So what I'm choosing to do on this one for a couple of reasons is I'm going to use the GM leather as my midsole instead of our normal leather midsoles, because the GM is a tougher piece of leather. It's less flexible in the right ways, not in the wrong ways. It's got a lot tighter grain. It's more water resistant because it's oak bark tanned over in Germany for over a year before they turn them into soles, whereas most of your veggie tans are about 2 to 3 months of tanning. And so that's going to give it a lot more rigid platform for support, but it'll still be flexible enough because I went with a thin instead of a thick midsole like I normally like to have. So that way I've got a good combination of the flex and the support. So the other thing is I really like the way this is. I'm going to do a natural edge next to mine, and I really love the way that this edges out with a natural edge finish on it versus the veggie tan. It's a little bit darker, so you'll see how that looks. Now, if you're wondering why I'm flexing this piece of leather so much, it's because I'm trying to help you break in your boots. This was a brand new pair of boots. I've never worn them. So I don't want to have to break in that stiff inner sole and all this stuff that I'm putting on here. So this will help break it in a lot.
comes through when you get forward.
Gotcha.
But those long ones in the back are the ones that are most necessary, because sometimes you can pry from there. Do 6/8 all the way.
So it's the moment of truth. Am I going with the white sole or the black sole? And here's why. You can see that the soles are not that much difference in size. If you were to place the boot on there just right, you could make the black sole work, or you can make the white sole work if it fits just right. So what we want to do is we want to decide how it's going to fit, and here's why it's really important. If you notice, the Gloxy cut has a tapered heel and it has a tapered toe, so that slants out, and you don't want to cut off part of that taper. So it's really important that you get the sole to be as close to a good fit as possible. So the boot is now shaped pretty close. I've got to sand it up to the very edges, but I've got it basically shaped how I want it. And if you notice, if I put this on here, if I bring it all the way back where I should, I'm losing a bunch of my toe taper right here. You can actually see the toe taper better in the black than you can on the white. And I think the black would look really good on this boot, but this sole's just too big. I'm not going to be able to use it. So it looks like we are going to be using the white sole, because as you can see, this fills it all the way up.
Do these soles require any wait time?
No. Looking pretty though. Look at that. Didn't even get your upper wet.
He said as he got my upper wet. Just had to brag, didn't you?
right, so I'm pretty stoked about what I ended up with here. The boot feels a lot lighter, and it's definitely got a whole lot different look. I went with black welts and cream stitch so that the black welt would highlight the black stitching in the toe box area and around the vamp areas, and then the cream stitching comes along with the cream stitching in the upper as well. Then I went with a neutral edge or natural edge. If you notice it's kind of dark, that's because of that oak bark tan leather. It's going to have a darker look, and I really like the way that comes out. I think the cream sole, you know, I was in the air about going with a black sole or a cream sole. I went with the cream because of the sizing issue we talked about, and I really like the looks of it. I think it came out really good, so I'm gonna be happy with that. So I don't think I could lose. And let's see here, I believe I lost a little bit of weight. Yeah, almost a half a pound. So that's a good little bit to cut off in on a pair of boots like that. So I'm pretty stoked about it. What do you think about them?
I like them. I was a little unsure about your choice in the cream sole over the black. I thought the black was going to look good, but now that they're on there, I love it. It really pops.
Yeah, I like the. I was really leaning toward the black was what I wanted, but honestly, I'm really happy about
this
the
is
cream
one of my
too.
favorite colors that Red Wing offers in the Iron Ranger.
Yeah.
And now it just changes everything. Having a sole like that just makes me think of all the possibilities. You know?
Yeah, cool.
I can go run a marathon in those.
Right, yeah, because they're so light and they're, you know, flexible and stuff.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Now,
I can't wait to put
on
them
this
on.
pair, we went a little bit more traditional. We did add a thicker midsole and a little bit of a heel base. Now the Dr. sole is thicker than the sole that comes on here, so it gives it quite a bit more heft, which is one of my favorite upgrades to do to Iron Rangers. In the video you might have saw, I did add a leather piece over the shank and just a couple of other subtle things that really changed this boot. And yeah, we kept it neutral. We did a cream stitch around there to kind of keep it simple. I really love it. I also did the neutral edge just like you did, and it really came out good.
Yeah, I noticed you did the GM midsoles on these as well. So, you know, that was another nice upgrade on these. The GM midsoles and the leather shanks really added to that.
Yeah, you know, the GM leather, it's more abrasion resistant, so a lot of people will upgrade that as a leather sole, but I think it's a really great upgrade because it gives it such a better, like, grain color to it.
Yeah, it allowed you to go with a little thinner midsole and give, you know, him the benefit of a thick midsole, too. I think I really like that. I think it came out really cool.
Awesome, yeah.
I can't wait to, you know, it's been funny because these boots both came into our possession at the same time. Nick got his, he started wearing his.
Yeah,
I left mine sitting in a box, man. I've been chomping at the bit to be
color,
wearing them.
the way that patina
Yeah, I
is.
love the way they patina, man. I'm so excited about getting into the, start patina in mine now, you know.
Yes,
So,
awesome. That was a lot of fun. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments.
hope you guys enjoyed.